Good morning time, good evening time, good afternoon time, whatever the case may be in your part of the world. Crisscrossing wires, and we have a real brief discussion on something that I've talked about many a times, and that is why I always will choose to be a direct drive guy over a mid-drive guy. Now, hear me out. For those that enjoy their mid-drives, more power to you. Everybody has their own thing and their own belief systems, and chooses their own methods of why they do what they do. Now, me, for instance, I've always said that I prefer direct drive. As a matter of fact, I don't have to go over the whole spiel because I'm pretty sure I have a video. Let me see. I know it's probably way back, but I've done videos before on mid drives versus direct drive. And matter of fact, you know what? I will find that original video and post a link on this video. But I want to discuss something new as far as mid drives and things that I don't think people are taking into consideration, along with the other reasons. Now, first and foremost, I love direct drives that are able to have regenerative braking. That alone is number one. Now, although Surron's their transmission is able to have regenerative braking along with using the mid drive, that is not the norm. Most mid drives aren't able to have regenerative braking because of the chain and the freewheel. You can't have regenerative braking with a freewheel unless you have that little belt jack system that they have in the Surrons. But anyway, okay, a guy I was talking to had recently blown some hall sensors, and that's what's inspiring me to make this video. And he's using a high power controller, and I'm pretty sure most Surron guys and a lot of people in the e-bike community have already heard that Surrons aren't good for riding high speed for long periods of time. You'll hear that in many forums, that if you ride high speed on a Surron, with a high power controller and a stock motor, that at some point you'll blow your motor. And which may be true. Most of the time, before you blow your motor, you would have to be running an extreme amount of power for one to blow your motor, period. But what normally happens before you blow your motor is, like I said, you blow a hall sensor. Reason being is because hall sensors do not like heat. Heat destroys hall sensors first and foremost. So, mid-drive Surron riding on the road at high speed for a long duration is definitely going to build up some heat, and they will build up heat a lot faster than a hub direct drive, primarily because in order for a Surron to do the same speed as a direct drive bike, its motor is spinning at a lot higher RPM. A direct drive bike cruising 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. RPMs could be anywhere from 1,000 RPM to 1,500 RPM. But if you're talking about a Surron doing that same speed with a mid-drive, you're talking 6,000 to 10,000 RPMs, depending on what type of sprocket setup, what type of gearing setup you have. You have to remember, in order for that Surron to travel on the road at the same speed requires a lot higher RPM with the mid-drive. Okay, because you have a sprocket up front with a chain and a sprocket in the back. Not only that, a lot of guys, to have quick acceleration and a lot of torque on their Surrons, put a big sprocket in the back, in the rear. Now remember, the bigger the sprocket you put in the rear, yes, the more acceleration you're going to have, the more torque. However, the faster your primary drive, your motor, is going to have to spin in order to, achieve high speed. You got a big sprocket on the rear, that little mid primary drive is going to be spinning some crazy high RPMs. All right, now imagine if you have that big sprocket because you like fast acceleration, but at the same time you want to travel at high speeds. That motor is going to be working itself crazy, cruising 55, 60 miles an hour, where a guy with a smaller sprocket in the rear may be cruising 7,000, 8,000 RPM. You may have to do 11,000, 12,000 RPM to do that same speed. So when you're setting up your Surron and you're thinking about, whether you want more torque or more top end, and that's the only thing about mid drives, you have to choose when you're setting up your gearing, your chain sprocket setup, which is it you want, more torque or more top end. It's not really an ideal situation because you really can't have both. You have to choose one or the other. And if you're doing group rides and you ride mainly in the street, I suggest you set your bike up for higher top speed. Now, you might not have that quick whole shot acceleration, you might not have as much torque, but if you plan on cruising along 50, 60 miles an hour, it'll be a lot easier on your motor to have that smaller sprocket in the rear. Now, in the ideal world, you would be able to have, like on a regular mountain bike, a pedal bike, you would have a derailleur where you could switch gears in the back, but because these are e-bikes with a lot of torque, we aren't afforded that benefit to have a derailleur switching system. You have to have a single gear, and like I said, choose one or the other. Now, the reason why Surrons are worlds better than direct drives in the woods and in trails is because, yes, you need a lot of torque in the woods and in trails, and a mid-drive can handle that in the woods and on trails, because when you're trail riding or jumping, you're not riding at a continuous high speed for long terms. You're constantly accelerating, decelerating, up, down. It's not ever consistently high RPM for long durations. So remember what type of riding you're going to do. If you're driving that Surron on the street in group rides in summertime and you want to go on 30, 40, 50 mile group rides, you better think about that when setting up that, setting up your bike. It's tough. A lot of people upgrade, especially when you upgrade your controller. Now, a stock Surron with a big battery capacity for a long distance would be fine, probably traveling at its maximum speed because it's stock and it's doing like 40 miles an hour. And only a certain amount of amps, and it will probably hold up. But I'm talking about those guys using BAC 4000s, and there's some guys running BAC 8000s on stock motors. Man, you gotta remember, guys, you putting a whole lot of current on those motors with a high RPM. Them motors are gonna be getting extremely hot. Now, like I say, you can do this and get away with it, but you gotta be mindful of that. You gotta give that bike a break. You know, you gotta ride high speed for 5 minutes and then let that thing cool down. You know, direct drives, you can ride high speed for a long time, you know, 20, 30, 40 minutes and not have any issues. But, you know, you're gonna be blowing hall sensors and, you know, possibly burning up some coils running a high power controller in the summertime when it's hot as it's 95 or 100 degrees out as is, and you cruising 60 miles an hour at about 10,000 RPM. That motor is going to be hot. So are there things you can do? Yeah, you can make some modifications. It ain't too many, but hey man, you might even want to consider getting yourself a high power electric fan and having that high power electric fan blow air across that motor in the summertime. Because especially, you know, stop and go, you running that motor hard and you stop, and you know, when you're moving along, yeah, maybe the air might be cooling it off, kinda. But if you could keep a constant stream of air blowing across that thing, that's about all you can do with mid drives. You know, you can't put stator aid and all that in them. I mean, maybe you can, I don't know, but it's not going to be as effective. But yeah, guys, just remember that when you're setting up, and you know, I'm not trying to knock guys who like Surrons and mid drives, but that's just another thing you got to think about when you choose that type of bike and want to modify it for high power. I'm sure you already heard that those motors can't run high speed long distances. Now I know there's going to be guys say, yeah, I do it all the time. Well, I tell you what, you might have been doing it during the winter time and you might have gotten away with it, and you might not have had an opportunity to do that during the summertime yet. But I tell you what, let's let the summertime come and think you're going to be balls to the walls all the time on that direct drive. You're going to find out. I mean, on that mid drive. Now, I see a lot of guys on the Surrons on group rides, guys that know better, and they cruising. You know, they cruising. Every now and then, you know, we might get on it, but they know that they can't jump out there on the highway and cruise 65 miles an hour for 20-30 minutes like them guys on them direct drives. You're gonna have some problems. All right, that's all I wanted to talk about as far as the mid-drive direct drive thing. Like I say, man, if you take a look at my other video on mid-drives versus direct drives, I give a whole bunch of reasons why I choose direct drives other than just this reason that I'm talking about now. This is just something new I wanted to add to it. But you know, in my other video I'm talking about other things like, you know, on a mid drive, if your chain pops, you're done. On a hub drive, if your chain pops, guess what? You can still ride home. You don't need to have a chain on a direct drive. Just like this bomber bike right now, the chain's not on there, but that doesn't stop this hub motor from going. Now I got the chain, ready to put the chain back on there, but a chain, you know, the chain not being on this bike is not going to stop that direct drive hub motor. No doubt about it. Let's see, that's pretty much it. I've been real busy here lately, fellas, so I haven't made any new videos, but we about to get back at it. I'm about to man, I got some new mods that I've done to the beast as far as tune and some other things. I still want to throw my new tires on there and go ahead and you know, put this high-speed thing to bed. All right, y'all, take it easy, take care. Crisscross and wise, holla at y'all later. Deuces, we out. Peace.